Hey y'all, so I just wanted to make a quick video about a recent experience of getting COVID and it turning to pneumonia and having sensorimotor OCD is kind of my main theme and my experience. So about a little over 6 weeks ago, I ended up getting COVID and I I got kind of sick. It wasn't super bad, and then about a week and a half later, it ended up turning into full blown pneumonia. Uh, I I I was walking around for about a week with it, and I was pretty sick, but I just kind of kept working, and then I finally went to a doctor, and I was basically told that I had to lay down for weeks to heal. So I ended up taking antibiotics, steroids, and you know, for me, I would say it was a really good experience. I 4 years ago, when my sensorimotor OCD really became dominant, I had 3 hernias at the same time, and after getting the hernias and the pain accumulating for months up to it made me focus on my body nonstop, and I literally had to just lay down and be uncomfortable, and it made me focus on my breathing. So for this to happen, years and years later, recovering and then experiencing this is very, very eye opening, and it was such a good learning experience for me. Uh, Normally when something like this would happen in the past, or if something happened, I feel like it would have made me spiral. Like I would have just maybe it took me down for months. And the coolest thing about this experience was knowing that I had the tools that I needed, and being able to experience it. Now, so and just to be clear, when I got COVID, so I got really sick. I had to take care of myself. I had to I couldn't stand for more than about 3 to 5 minutes. I would cough, and my body would start. I I would start convulsing. I wasn't getting enough oxygen. I would black out. I had about a week where I really couldn't breathe. I couldn't. I had 3 days where I was focusing on my breathing constantly because I wasn't getting air. And when this happened at first, yeah, I got some anxiety. It kind of freaked me out, and it made me think, oh, I'm going to start focusing on my breathing 24/7. And I was after about a day, I was like, okay, I could focus on it 24/7. It's not like I haven't done it before. I could handle it. And you know, when when I was able to just be able to have that happen with such ease, it was just such an amazing experience. It's weird, I guess weird to say that, but to have your worst fear happen and it not be bad, not be scary. Years later, being able to completely handle it, and it's it's really cool. So I would say the biggest things for me that put me in this situation is um, one, I in February of this year I had a um, I guess you'd call it a bump in the road. But I had a spike in my OCD. I hadn't experienced it in like a year and a half, and it lasted about 6 months on and off. I experienced a lot of unwanted body sensations. I was very uncomfortable, anxiety. I just all kinds of stuff. And the first time I had recovered, I I feel like I stumbled into it. Like I just like bullied my way into recovery because I just was like I like I'll like whatever, I'll be super uncomfortable. I'll be the most uncomfortable of any person there is, and I'll figure it out, and this time I really took the time to educate myself on the disorder and the process of recovering from the disorder, and I learned a lot from Nick. And I learned a lot from Rob, but I had a lot of conversations with Nick about the disorder, and there were some things I didn't really understand with it at first, and also some things that I didn't initially do. And the biggest thing was for sensory motor, it was the core fear. I would break it down a little bit, but I never really broke it down. Like the fear it was still there. It was in the background, but it was hiding. It was waiting. And when I really started to take the time to walk myself through what my biggest fear was and make it rational using, Albert Ellis's approach, and really get under that core fear, it it let go. It didn't have power. And I would say the other thing is when I learned about the disorder and its ability to change and morph and the things that it does, so it made it so it doesn't, there's no real power there, even if I was uncomfortable, even if I had anxiety, even if I had intrusive thoughts, even if I had unwanted body sensations, I could deal with it. I could handle it, and I can understand it. Another book really made a big difference for me was At Last the Life by Paul David. And it's really funny because it was the last book I read. So I read all the books multiple times on the reading list for OCD recovery, but I never read that book. Never read it. And I've read it all the way through now. But really understanding anxiety and letting it just do its thing. Like when you allow your mind and body to just go, almost like, think about it like a cloud in the sky just drifting by, and you're uncomfortable, but you just live your life and you do your thing, and and understanding that, like, you spent years putting yourself in a situation where you're really uncomfortable because of the way you conditioned yourself through your actions, your thoughts, your motives. I mean, the things that you've done, and just letting it work itself out. I cannot even explain how empowering and life-changing it is to know that, like, your body has such an amazing ability to heal itself and figure itself out. Now, OCD is obviously a little tricky. You can't just be like, oh, I'm just gonna live my life and ignore everything and it go away. OCD is a little different, but really just having the mentality that anxiety is a teacher, and it's my greatest teacher, and it's my thing that's been my driver. It's the thing that has gave me passion. It's and understanding. I can see things in a way that I would have never been able to because of OCD, and it's just amazing. I'm just honestly so grateful that I had this experience and was uncomfortable, because it made me realize that, like, I'm learning and growing as an individual. So I would say with sensorimotor OCD and COVID, obviously, the biggest thing that I learned is that, with the right tools, and really looking at the fear of, what is, driving the sensorimotor OCD. What is your greatest fear? And walking yourself through that and making it rational, and just letting your mind and body just really do its thing, and it'll, you'll surprise yourself. You'll surprise yourself what you can do, when you let yourself be uncomfortable. At first you're like, but once you do, you're like, I can handle this. I can do it. So anyways, well, I hope you guys have a great day. I appreciate the opportunity. This is me just going over sensorimotor OCD and COVID. So